This is just kind of me trying to figure out the software. I'm not charging for it.
Look,
Nothing. Just
I am no judgment zone. I am excited to just be hear what you have to say. So if you don't want to record, I don't care what happens. We can even wait till I know it's a Mercury retrograde. I get it.
that's not helping.
It's
Yeah.
not,
Well
especially
then,
when you're ruled by it. I actually happen to be ruled by it, so
lovely. All right, because what
yeah.
I've been trying to do also, since I can't get the printer to work,
Hmm.
then I thought I could use the camera on my phone. So now this is what to show I could write it on paper, but now I've got to try to figure out how to log in on my phone because I'm on my computer talking to you now. So let's see if I can figure this out.
Okay.
If I can get, no, that's not logging out either. How do I log out?
Do you want to log me to log out and then
No,
log back
it's my
in?
phone. I'm trying to log out on my phone so I can log back in. Here we go. Switch account. All right. And add account. Yeah, because then what I can do if I can, okay. Radiant Living at Outlook, right? Radiant Living at Outlook, right?
Yeah.
Radiant Living at Outlook. Okay. All right. And then you had that crazy ass password. Let me see if I can copy that. Because if I can't get the printer to work and I can't get the screen to work, I'm thinking that maybe I can get my phone to work and I can show what I wanted to show on paper. Let's see if I can figure this out. Okay. June. Yeah, and you bringing Uranus into the game makes you a great astrologer, I'm sure, but
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if I'm great.
well, you have
You're
talent,
always learning.
always.
The more and more I read, I've been reading a lot of mundane astrology recently, of course, because of the geopolitical
Oh, yeah.
situation that we're in the world, not only our country. But I've been
Mm-hmm.
doing a lot. So I've been expanding my horizons with and the rules and things like that. But there's so many rules.
Oh, geez. Yeah. And that's the thing I was telling somebody else. And I guess we should start recording. You want to go ahead and start recording? I'll figure this out.
Um,
Or are you recording right now yet?
I think it already started. Yeah, but I can cut the
Okay.
beginning out when
No,
you're.
that's the thing. Yeah, that's why I've got you doing the editing. You can do the edit of this part.
Yeah.
Because, what I wanted to start with is I've been hearing that a lot with some of the people that say they want to join the the learning experience is that, oh, I can't do this, I'm not good at that, and I'm like, you're always learning. There's no way one human in one lifetime can learn everything.
No.
Right, like a thousands-year old practice, and then throw Vedic in the mix, and it's like, all right, I yeah.
Exactly.
The sidereal people always make their way in, but I
Oh,
listen to it. I mean, it sounds about that's an intense practice right there.
well, my first real teacher was a siderealist. And boy,
Mhm.
let me tell you, that was an experience because, I was learning his way, but it wasn't making sense. Now, granted, this guy was amazing, okay,
Mhm.
at what he did. I mean, he just blew me away, but I couldn't grasp it, you know? And
Yes.
then I began to understand that, well, he's a man, number one. Number two, he's like a programmer because he actually programmed some of the first astrology software. So I
Oh,
began to realize that, well, this is just the way his mind works. So it doesn't, that's when I started getting into the whole, well, how can his system work for him, but it doesn't work for me, but my system works for me. So that's why I let go of the,
maybe it has something to do with our lineage too.
yes,
Maybe Greek and Roman. People come from those regions, the Mediterranean versus. I believe it's perspective for
well,
me.
that's
That's why I like Western astrology.
all right. Now it's not letting me access the camera. Oh my God. I can't get the printer to work. And now my phone is not
I
letting me access.
My
I like
first
the song.
astrology teacher actually was he was a heliocentric astrologer. That's because he did financial markets.
Oh,
That was
right.
really interesting. But he taught me the Western stuff. And I don't know if you know Jacob Schwartz. He wrote a book on asteroids. He was fascinated with them. He's passed away now.
Yeah.
I studied with him for a little bit too, but I'm 57. I'm going back into my 20s and, into my early 30s that I did that kind of intense studying.
Right.
Like for a while there, Neptune got hold of me. Well, in my seventh house. So, for a very long time. So, so now I feel like I'm ready to get work cracking again.
Right. Well, see, that's kind of, you hit on actually kind of what I wanted to talk about. Two main things I wanted to talk about for like this session. One is the idea of like, this is the right system. Because a lot of times I see people get confused because they're starting to learn, but they don't realize what system they're learning. So then they get onto this other like thread for say Vedic or something, and they get all confused and they don't realize, no, you're in a different system and you need to like stay in your lane or you're going to get confused. Because I
Yeah,
can go into Vedic and I am lost.
right. Exactly.
And
Hmm.
then, I learned sidereal with Peter, but it didn't work for me. And you're right. It's something to do with the mindset. And that's what it's kind of like, how do aliens talk to us in our own language? Well, everybody's different, you know?
Hmm.
And that's
Hmm.
the thing I found with astrology is if it works for you, do it. I found what works for me that I can do amazing stuff on the Western astrology. I
Right.
amaze the hell out of myself. I
Yeah.
mean, so, I
Well,
mean,
for
I've
me,
actually found
like the West,
people.
I don't know if I feel like you are this way. I feel that's why I'm actually attracted to you. I actually, when I'm looking at things, and maybe somebody asks me something and I'm looking at I actually start to be able to like channel it through.
Yes.
Like it's almost like things start to just, once I'm in the groove, I'm like, things start to just come to me where I don't have
Yes.
to let this. But what I really want to do is be able to really get into the actual technical things about it that are more, where it's in really, really in here versus the actual channeling through of what it is that I'm trying to convey.
Yeah. Because this to me is, everything's for a reason. I mean, here's this great, amazing astrologer who's teaching me. I was like 16 at the time. And, I've got all of his time and he's doing sidereal. And, I was coming from at 16, what did I know? I knew horoscope
Mhm.
astrology basically, right?
Right,
And
exactly.
that was his big argument with me is he would, kind of like, verbally smack me saying, you're using your psychic abilities again. Stop it. You need to use the astrology. And he really had me hone in on the science. However, this is where I began to change lanes and realize there's different kinds of astrology for a reason, not only for the people, but also I think for the purpose. Because you're right, I spent a lot of time with him on the stock market. He actually made $1 million on Black Monday. He wrote
Wow.
one of the first programs for the stock market. That was insane to do it in
Yeah.
DOS, but there it was. I
Yeah.
mean, everything was exactly, he could predict, say, wheat, gold, all of that. Amazing in sidereal. I'm looking at it in tropical going, oh, I'm not getting
Right.
anything, right? Then
Right.
the
Exactly.
financial astrologers like, Meriden comes in with the corporations and the stocks and all that. They're again doing sidereal. Okay, well, and the way it was explained to me, and it makes sense because I also have had friends at the time that were astronomers that explained to me, your astrology can't possibly work because the planets have moved,
That's
which is the whole reason behind sidereal and tropical is that sidereal is based on where the planets technically are in reality at this moment. Okay,
yeah.
but the tropical is supposedly based on where everything was at the time of Christ, like 2000 years ago. Okay,
Mhm.
so I spent a lot of time trying to reconcile a lot of this in my head. Okay,
Mhm.
and what I finally began to understand is that if I'm trying to find a missing person, then you know what? The planets aren't really what's guiding me. They're not. You know, how could possibly the planets guide me to where a specific person is, or where my cat went to? My cat went missing 3 times and I found it with horror, you know, that kind of thing.
Right,
But
right.
at the same time, you know, I can't use straight intuition in something like the stock market. I do need something scientific.
Exactly.
So that's where I've had to learn to shift gears. Like if I'm going to do the stock market, I've been talking in my group about lucky stars. Now, what we did with lucky stars is we actually tested that. Him and I would go down, Peter and I would go down to the track and we would try to gauge the horses. He'd be doing sidereal, I'd be doing tropical. Okay. Then we'd go in the casinos and gamble. We'd take a bag of pennies. Literally, I'm not kidding. We'd take a bag of pennies in the casino and try to figure out what lucky times meant. Now, this is where it got really tricky in my mind. And that's where I appreciate Lois Rodden. I'd ordered a book to talk about it this class, but it hasn't come yet. Because Lois Rodden was like, you know, all you guys with your lucky times, she says, you don't understand that if you're going to win enough to change your life, you know, like be that big ball lotto winner, you know,
Mhm.
that's got to show in your natal. It's not going to just, you know, oh, this is a great time. Well, it might be a great time for somebody else, not you. And
Right.
she did is she then went out and started researching all the big lotto winners. And what
Mm,
she found is that there are patterns in
right.
every big lotto or say a big gamble win. There was
Mm,
patterns. She also found patterns with somebody who made their money in the stock market. Now, this is to me, this is again where I scratched my head for years trying to reconcile this. I'm like, okay, so we have times when all of our like luck for this kind of finances and gambling converge. And yeah, I'd make, you know, a couple of grand maybe in the casino on those times, but Lois was right that it wasn't like the $1 million win that would change my living.
right. Right.
Okay. Now, granted, it would help. And I see a lot of, in Vegas, I see a lot of that. I see guys that'll go out, they make a couple $100 a day and they're happy. They can live off that.
Right.
But
Right.
if you think you're going to make that $1 million win or that killing in Bitcoin, your natal had better reflect it, you
Right.
know?
You
And
mean as
that's,
far as the time of your birth, not necessarily the transits?
no,
It,
not the transit. It's got to, and that was the
it's
other
got to
thing.
show in the actual time of birth. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to
Another
clear that.
common
Yeah.
thread where astrologers confuse the hell out of themselves is they look at the natal, but the natal is your whole life. I mean, your absolute birth to death and beyond even, because for a while I got into near-death experiences and what happens after death, you know, the funerals and things like that. So even after that, death shows in your natal. But when something kicks off,
Mm,
when, you know, you're going to get married, when your mother's going to die, you know, that kind of thing, that's the
mm.
progressions. That shows up in the
I
secondary
was just
progressions.
going to ask you about that. The
Yeah.
second, is it the secondary progressions?
And
Yeah.
then, of course, secondary progressions, however, only give you a 3-year window. You've got the degree approaching, the exact degree, and the degree after. So that's a big
Mhm.
window within that 3-year span of time. So that's
Sure.
again where the transits and the lunations, because what I found was the transits will get me about the month. Okay. But then I have found that it actually needs like what I mean by lunation is an eclipse or a full moon or something has to click off on that moon and then boom, things go off like a shot, you know?
Right. What
I had,
happened on February 17th, when, and then the war and all that stuff. Like
yeah, that's a
something
prime
had to,
example.
mhm.
Exactly. We were all going, we know it's coming. And then the
Yeah, we know.
lunation hit and bam, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and that's the thing
And
with
then
mundane
I
astrology
had
too.
seen the three charts of the different, they were all born under an eclipse, but Trump was the one that was born under a lunar eclipse.
Yeah.
Bibi and Netanyahu and the Ayatollah were born under a solar eclipse. They all have similar Mars in fixed Leo,
Yeah.
so
And
I'm
that was
saying
something else. No, that was some, because like in the
yeah, I mean,
previous
I saw it
classes,
all over, and you know what's so nice about being with you today? I have to say, I really am so happy to be, because it's so lonely to know these things and not be able to talk to people about them. Besides, going like this, because like I try to tell my husband, he's like, after like all these years, he's like, I still don't know what the hell you're talking about. You know,
No, you hit exactly why I started these classes is
Yeah, they
because,
think you're
you know, I
crazy.
babbled to my
you need
mother
the
all day long about
camaraderie,
this,
for
right?
Christ's sake. Yeah, you need the camaraderie. Yeah, for sure.